Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sree's daily global COVID-19 show. My name is Sree Sreenivasan, and it's my honor to convene this daily conversation around all things COVID-19. Please share our episode right now with your friends and family. We're live on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. Please hit share right now so that your friends and family can join us no matter where they are in the world. We are delighted to have you all with us here today. We talk about various aspects of the COVID-19 crisis. We focus on the health crisis, the economic crisis, and the racial inequality crisis. Today is episode 158. We've been live for 158 days, and we are delighted to talk on India's Independence Day, August 15th, and we have a very special guest with us who's returning. He was with us at episode 54, and now it's our episode 158. Chef Vikas Khanna will be with us in a few minutes. He's a Michelin star chef who's feeding millions in India during the lockdown. When he joined us, he had just had only 2 million meals that he had distributed. Now it's over 25 million. We'll also be joined later by Aman Khanna, the food editor of Scroll. So please stay tuned, and Vikas will be joining us soon. Hi, everybody. I'm Sree. I'm the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at Stony Brook School of Journalism and the co-founder of Digimentors, a social, digital, and virtual events consulting company. Our motto: don't cancel your event without talking to us. Don't even plan your virtual event without talking to us. You see my email address right here. We love geeking out on virtual events, sree@sree.net. If you're visiting with us for the first time, this is our show. We have had 150 plus episodes on scroll.in, one of India's leading news, information, culture, food websites. Please check them out at scroll.in. We've had more than 1 million viewers, 105 million social impressions, 281 guests, 57 cities, 16 countries. Even the chief scientist of the World Health Organization has been our guest. We're able to do this because of our awesome producers, Rose Horowitz, who's at Rose Horowitz 31, and Vandana Menon, Vandana_Menon. We're always looking for guest ideas, so please let us know if you have guests who should be on this show. Maybe you should be on the show. Tell us where you're watching from. Vikas loves that part of the show when we talk to our viewers and he gets to hear where people are watching from. Tell us about your favorite food. Tell us about Indian food you like. If you like Indian food, tell us about that. Tell us if you've been to India. Tell us if you've been to the chef's restaurants. We are just so grateful that the chef will be with us in just a minute. We must thank our sponsors. Muckrack.com is one of our sponsors. They arranged for us to create this Fundamentals of Social Media free certification course, now available, mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. Please check it out. You will learn a lot, as I did, putting this course together. And it's available at mrac.co/social. You also get a certificate at the end of it after you complete the work. It's about 2 hours of work. You can do it in 2 hours, 2 days, 2 months, etc. We also want to thank nonbelievable.com, divinely delicious cookies on a mission. Each handcrafted cookie provides a meal to those in need. One cookie equals one meal. Nonbelievable.com. Use the code SREE, S-R-E-E, for 20% off. We also want to tell you about this live stream that's happening on Wednesday, August 19th. You all know about the terrible situation in Lebanon. There is a live stream being hosted by Hamad Sino and Farah Siraj, and they are raising money for the Migrant Cultural Center and Anti-Racism Movement, givingloop.org/MCC this coming Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Please take a screenshot of this so you can attend. Promotional consideration is also provided by
Hotstar Premiere Nights. Watch the year's biggest blockbusters streaming straight to your screen, exclusively on Hotstar.
A newly married couple's life is jeopardized in the new thriller Khuda Hafiz, streaming straight to your screen as of yesterday. Please check out hotstar.com/US and use the code Sree2020 to get a less than $4 a month subscription. Hotstar.com/US, Sree2020. So now I think everyone's ready to meet Chef Vikas Khanna. We're so grateful to him. We know he's been sharing the show, and we are so delighted that his audience is here with us today as well. So let me bring Chef Vikas Khanna onto the stage here, and he is backstage with us right now. And a reminder of who he is a Michelin star chef. You can see in this New York Times article from his home in New York. Vikas Khanna, the TV host, writer, former executive chef at Junoon, is running a relief effort that distributes food to vulnerable Indians. 25 million meals have been distributed in old age homes, orphanages, and much more than that. And he'll tell us all about it. Please welcome our friend, Michelin chef, filmmaker, author, writer, do-gooder, Vikas Khanna. Hi, Vikas.
Hi, Sree. Good morning.
Good morning. I am so happy to see you on Independence Day for India. Tell us, our first question is, how are you, where are you, and how are you doing? How's your family during the pandemic?
My mom is in Amritsar. My brother is there with her. And I'm in New York on the Midtown. Same place, same apartment, almost 20 years.
And 20 years, and it feels like when you were with us just 104 days ago, you were sitting there already having done so much, and here we are 104 days later. Tell us about this journey, just with this, what you've been able to do. How have you been able to do it? So many people are asking that question.
So, after the New York Times article, we started getting, because I was putting initially all my money to support this, and then we started getting sponsors. And I did not know everything will become much easier if you get big corporate sponsors on board. And we would just request them if they can just support, especially the food companies, if they can just support exactly what kind of food they want to deliver, and we will make sure that we deliver it. So we got companies like India Gate Basmati Rice, Pushp Masale. We got 9 sanitary napkins. So there was one time when we realized that we will not be able to make it into big scale thing, and then we said, you know what, let's focus on a single community also. Like in Delhi, we did an event for transgenders, sex workers, for people with disabilities, and we did an event, and suddenly all these big sponsors wanted to be a part of it, which was amazing because we could make the event much bigger. So I said, when you were giving somebody a meal for a month, we should actually make it to 3 months, because this doesn't seem to improve. Nothing around us seems to improve right now. So that is what really we just snowballed. The entire effect of the whole thing was, of course, and I was like, I'm sitting on this chair, and this is my room where I work, and I haven't moved. I'm like, no, and I just opened a restaurant yesterday in Dubai, which we were working on for a few months now. But I said, when we talk about being positive and creating opportunities, and that's how we always come back, then we must focus on actually creating opportunities of new restaurants, new dining experience, just to change the atmosphere, what is going around us. Yeah, so the Eater said yesterday that we don't even know how many restaurants have shut down in New York. It could be thousands. I said, I want to open, because I've always gone against the water streams. Let's open a new restaurant this time. And Sree, it's been full since yesterday. The restaurant is packed.
The one in Dubai. Tell us about it and how people can find out and tell their friends in Dubai.
It's called Elora, and it's at the Beach Hotel in Jebel Ali. And it's a beautiful restaurant, of course, with all social distancing and all the new parameters of the hotel industries, which has been set by medical experts and the government. Following that, so the restaurant has lesser seating, which is, of course, we accept all those parameters. And I do feel that people want a change right now. Right now, there's never been a time in our history. Of course, in 2008, the elections, and I'm like, that is when we wanted the change, and it's to change now. The people are looking for change now, and I'm very proud that since yesterday we are doing phenomenally well, and we quite a good reservation for the next few weeks, and I'm very happy about that.
And that's what's amazing, that you're doing all this sitting in New York City. Tell us about your gigantic team that you have doing all this.
We do not have a gigantic team, but
I know that.
I'm called OMA, One Man Army. So, but we do have people who support in different projects, which really helps us. And we do have people who are more dedicated, and some of them are more dedicated than me also, because but also what had happened during the last few weeks, since I was on your show, of course we snowballed Feed India now, which has crossed 26.3 million meals, and right now we're supporting a huge big initiative is to support the street vendors, especially the ones who are always serving us food. So we are creating pockets, and in a very good pilot test, we are feeding their families for a few months. Boatsmen and the people who work totally on tourism, and I think farmers, and these are the people who are more vulnerable right now, because this whole effect of these lockdowns and the pandemic is affecting them even more than common man.
And you're thinking of everybody at this time, and we are so appreciative of that. When we'll get into the story of how you did it and what you're doing, we just want to give a shout out to everyone who's watching from all over the world. And as those comments come in, Chef, you tell us about any memories of the places they're talking about, or the meals, because they're going to be talking about that. I see Akruti is watching. She's looking forward to this. Thank you for bringing such meaningful and exciting shows. Lavina says, our friend Lavina Melwani, the journalist. She says, it's always joyful to see Chef Vikas and the positive action he takes to solve problems, even during the pandemic. And Jonathan Borstein is watching from the East Village. He has watched 158 episodes in a row, including yours. We've seen restaurants close, Vikas. It's so difficult to think about it, right? It's not just the restaurant closing, it's all the waiters, the staff in the back kitchen, it's the owner's investment, all of that is gone, and that has a ripple effect.
We kind of do not understand the effect this consumer market of hospitality has. You're also looking at the entire food chain, from the farmers to the vendors to the fishmongers. There's an entire food chain of vendors which gets affected when a restaurant shuts down. It's employment, it's money, it's livelihood, it's hope. And I feel that that has been totally interrupted. That entire chain has been totally destroyed at this moment. And it's a little sad for us to see this and witness this right now. There's a lot of helplessness and there's a lot of uncertainty in hospitality industry. Such amazing institutions of New York are shutting down every single day, and every time I have to and I have to have broken hearts. It's really breaking our hearts to see these institutions disappear from the face of New York City. This is what made New York such a great city of restaurants, the legacy of these institutes which were here for decades. They are family-owned restaurants, but now there's no way many of them wouldn't survive, which is very difficult. And I have a big catering company, and we have to shut down all the operations because we know that the big events won't be happening soon.
So sad, really sad.
It's a heartbreaking thing what's going on, but I think we all know that this is breaking the hearts for all of us. But somebody should take action on this and to make us feel like this is transient, like all the successes we've ever had. And the only way I know is moving forward. Only way. Of course, I have delayed all my book projects. We have such a huge feature film coming out, which was supposed to come out this year, but we cannot do that. It's coming out next year. We have 4 documentaries about amazing people who've created such amazing hope. This was a new series which I was starting, and we are finding people who are doing such great work in this world, who they're synonym to the word hope. And I want to bring those stories, everything pushed on the back burners. And I'm okay, because Feed India was the initiative. I remember my mother telling me one time, because we got a lawyer's letter about my delayed submission dates. And my mom said, everything in this world can wait. Those migrant workers walking on the highways in the heat, they cannot wait. And as I said, okay, you know what? All the risks right now are taking worth it. Let's only focus on that. So that is why the last few months, almost 4 months, everything else was put on the back burners.
Incredible. Incredible. Divya Shukla says, best wishes for the new restaurant, chef. Nandini Shekhawat says, proud of you, Chef Vikas Khanna. Nandini is a good friend out in Toronto. And Manisha Jain says, wishing you all the very best in your new endeavors. Stay safe. She's got a heart wrapped up in a little bow. So that's nice. And Jonathan tells us that for many older solo diners, a restaurant closing means no place to go where someone knows who you are. And so important. Amrita is saying, Chef Vikas Khanna has always been an inspiration to me since the first time I watched his interview 9 years back and pulled me out of deep depression after losing my dream job and my brother being ill. I know you hear things like this every day, Vikas. What does it mean to be inspiring to so many people?
I'm extremely ordinary person. I just feel that all I do is when I decide on a project, I just put my heart, soul, everything into it. So I think that's the power of ordinary people. And understanding that I don't come from any backgrounds which connects to more people. I don't come from backgrounds of families which would put money on your restaurants and settle you down. But there's a certain beauty in those scars which you endure when you're surviving alone. You know that, Sree. I think you're the first person who ever interviewed me after the tsunami event, and there's a beauty to that. There's a beauty to that. Sometimes I used to feel like, why the hell, I did not inherit all this. And then you remember that what you inherited is much greater than wealth or opportunities, because what you inherited was such amazing family which gave you gravity, and you could create all these opportunities not only for yourself, for millions around the world.
But most people are not able to do that, don't even have that idea. First, I want to say to Amrita, we hope your brother is better. We hope you're better, and we wish you the very best, of course, Amrita, as well. I did want to, since you mentioned our interview, let's show this picture. This is the photo of, actually, I'm going to go on one side and you can go on the other. But this is a photo of me interviewing Vikas in 2008. And I'll play a little clip of this later, but Vikas is the same man that you see in front of you today. He was humble then, and he had a lot more to be humble about, but he was so humble and so open to talking. And the man you see that I saw that day is the man you see in front of you today. It's very hard to say that about so many people who've become superstars. They don't normally get to stay the way we met them when they were a lot younger. He's still, by the way, we should compare the two photographs side by side. Look how young he looks, and look at me. I've lost all my hair, and he looks fantastic. So, by the way, you also have somebody worried about how you're looking, because somebody's saying that you are looking tired, Chef. Take care and stay safe. Yeah. And that's because you're working so hard. I know that you're awake because I see your tweets and text messages at midnight and at 5 a.m. and 3 a.m. New York time, because you're working India time in the US, right?
I'm working both the time zones, and we're also working in the Dubai time zone, which is right in the middle. Yeah, but I feel that I'm going to take a break. I do take naps in between, because I cannot have regular schedule, because especially now we have the deliveries going on for food. So I have to monitor almost everything. And sometimes what people like to do is that, when we get the food, because a new issue which has come to my attention in the last few weeks is very dark, and it's a subject which is very close to my heart, is that during this pandemic, a lot of people are abandoning their grandparents. And so I'm just trying to set something up in different cities for that. And it's something, because I was raised by my grandparents, so this is very... And I understand that, the hardship of this, that in the last few weeks, the amount of emails and messages about people of abandoning their grandparents, because, this pandemic has taken a toll on a lot of us financially, emotionally, family-wise. And that is one thing which just breaks my heart, because I don't even know where will I stand without my grandmom, and just having her around me and just being my guide for everything I was. And she was the only one who actually believed in me, not even my mother. She said, cut yourself, it's okay, as long as you learn something new. She would tell me every time I burn myself, And she'll say that that's fine, that you can heal that, but you won't be able to heal living with a life where you did not dream of. I think that was a small, small thing she ever stood by me, and having somebody to abandon their grandparents, and so we are doing something in different cities on that slowly, slowly. But I also do a lot of pilot tests before I actually implement something, because we are working on mass scale and we don't have room to fail. And one thing which it was an article in midday newspaper a few months back, or weeks back, and which was about the Dabbawalas. These are different carriers and the lifelines of Mumbai. And I read the article, and it said that the people who fed us are right now struggling to survive. A small article like that, the power of journalism, it just broke me very, very internally, and that's such something so ironical. And I want to do a lot for television artists and all the people who work for TV, because TV has given me a stage in India and around the world. And when we had to put an event together, this is how these things multiplied, because people related to that, they came on board, and small, small things we were doing at that time, which were phenomenal. On May 31st, Sri, we served more than 500,000 meals around India. 500,000 meals, all
Incredible.
coordinated from this apartment. So if I'm looking tired, but I'm also looking very happy. I'm also looking very happy for this reasons that I could be a support system at that time where people were struggling for basic necessities.
Well, just to understand the issue with grandparents, because of course, in the Indian tradition, there's children and their parents are very close. The as they are in many parts of the world, but this idea that Indian families would abandon grandparents is shocking to many people who are so proud of the way that India takes care of its elderly. And on more than one occasion, people who live in the West have heard about and been told by Indian Americans how great India takes care of the grandparents. So tell me why this is happening and what can be done. You said you have a pilot project, so please let us know when you have figured out what you're doing. But what are some of the ideas you're exploring?
The ideas we are actually exploring is putting some big major corporations together and creating abandoned grandparents. Not, we shouldn't use the word abandoned, because
Because
it's so, and it's going to be like, we are trying to create shelters, and I hope I'm able to achieve it. And also shelters with system. There's a system based on it where they have nourishing food, which all those things which are very, very important for these people to have a sustainable and consistent life. At that age, you do not want any interruptions. You're so used to the way you live. It has to be very similar to that. So we are trying to create some stuff. I hope I'll be able to achieve it by year end, at least a good pilot test of this. And these are going to be issues which are also the post-pandemic. We will have all these issues.
And that's so difficult to understand. To understand more about India, we'll go to a minute to Aman Khanna, who is a food editor of Scroll, and he had joined us in our interview 54 days ago. Let's just see some more people tuning in. Sanjana Somani says hello, and Divya Shukla says hello, and Rachel Cooper says, how great hearing about his project from Ruchira Gupta, who's an amazing fellow New Yorker who's helping so many people. She's awesome. And then look, our friend Ron Thomas is watching from Dubai. Ron is a very good friend of the show, and I hope he has had a chance to go to Elora. And if you haven't, Ron, please go and tell them you're my friend and Vikas's friend. They will always treat you well. And let's see, so many other comments coming in. Stefan Kaplan says, so wonderful to be here for episode 158 and India's Independence Day. Much love and positivity to all. We're always stronger together, he says. And we have just so many comments coming in. Sushmita says, Namaskar, sir. I'm watching from West Bengal. Give me a memory of West Bengal when you were last in Kolkata or anything like that.
So my grandmother's sister, she used to live in Kolkata, Loudon Street. So from Delhi to Kolkata, I think it was a 24-hour train ride, and we've never forgotten that. Either we'll go to Dehradun for holidays or we will go to Kolkata, and it was 18 Loudon Street. I still remember. And my first memory, the most powerful memory of course, everybody has street food and all, was me actually visiting Missionaries of Charity, and they actually have this kind of they make this kind of khichdi with all the vegetables and grains, and And that was really something which had really affected me, even at that time. When you're talking about 1982, this is before the Amritsar riots. And I have never forgotten that city because of that. And the streets, the sudden shock, surprise of seeing something so artistic. And of course, it's one of the most major parts. Sindoor Khela is one of my most important parts of Durga Puja. And you see some of the images. I'll definitely share it for you right now after the interview. You see the work which I've been doing in West Bengal for the last few years. And of course, one of my research is about pollination. It's a PhD. And one place where we had to visit again and again was near Siliguri, where Kali Elaichi grows, the black cardamom. And we were so surprised by the unknown facts about these spices and herbs what grow in those areas. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and so I think since you're talking about food, this is the right time to bring in the food editor of Scroll. Aman is going to join us. So everybody, just a reminder, this is episode number 158 of my daily global show. We want everybody to tag their friends, share it with them. This is Chef Vikas Khanna. You can see him there with President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. He has a Michelin star and a mission, feeding millions in India's lockdown. That's the article from the New York Times. And it's India's Independence Day today. Please tag and share this conversation. People around the world should learn from Vikas and just be in his presence. It's so invigorating because I know every time I am with Vikas, I learn so much. All right. So now we're going to bring in Aman Khanna, and he's going to interview Chef Vikas Khanna. And we should make it clear they are not related, right?
No, we are not.
Yeah.
I would have loved to boast about it to all my friends and family members if we were.
Somebody asked me last time too, is Aman related to you? I'm like, why? I think it looks like you and you have the last surname. I'm like, yes, he is.
Okay, I'm going to take myself off the screen so that Aman can talk to you. Go ahead, Aman.
Chef, it's how are you doing, Chef?
Good to see you again.
It's a delight and an honor to speak to you every time, and especially this time when you have accomplished so much. It's such a massive achievement to feed 26 million people, and in this time of pandemic when everyone is socially distanced and there's so much chaos all around us. So hats off to you, Chef. We really commend you. So I really wanted to start the interview, Chef, by talking about the obstacles and the difficulties that you face. You spoke the last time as well about the idea, how it came to you, and you spoke a little earlier to Sree as well. But what were given that you are coordinating everything from thousands of miles away, what are the biggest difficulties that you've been facing?
I think the biggest difficulty throughout this was we wanted to expand too fast and we couldn't do it, which was difficult for me. I thought that we will be able to do things much faster. I think one of the projects which I had proposed was fuel stations to food stations. Like when we saw all the migrants walking back to their villages or homes, they were all passing through a lot of gas stations, like the fuel stations. And I wanted to get that done very fast because I said, we can spread the word. The moment they see a gas station on the highway, they know it that, they will be able to get four things. They'll be able to get food, they'll be able to get water, they'll be able to get sanitary pads and slippers. Because one of the images of one of my team members who had clicked was that, there was a line of migrant workers because we used to take the food trucks on the highways to feed them. But, the thing was that they were all moving in groups or individually. It was very hard for them to locate a truck which was serving food. And so we said, on this gas station, we should have these four things mandatory. And I wish I could have implemented a little earlier. I could not, because it's not easy to get the right kind of partners you're looking for. And there's a lot of money involved and brands involved in a way that you want to make sure that things go to the right hands when you're actually serving them. This became some projects were, if I write about that, you'll be surprised that, some things were so easy, which people said they're impossible to do. And we got stuck into the simplest things. simplest. And there was a leprosy community center. There are like little colonies in Hyderabad, and we were trying to get food to them. And you're talking about leprosy as such a stigma in many societies of the world, but it was also difficult. So we had to have right brand partners with us who actually helped us to get the food to them. And sometimes searching for them could be challenging because you wanted people who were thinking like us and to also do things very fast.
And yet, despite all these obstacles, Chef, you've achieved so much. I was wondering, have you got any response, any reaction from the ground from any of the people who've received the food and the rations? And I'm sure it must have been a moment of great validation to get that note of thanks or that gratitude and those blessings. Can you, for our viewers, recount any of those episodes, any messages that you have got?
We used to do video calls in some of the places once they get the food, and we were doing a great food drive for the ashrams, the widow ashrams in Varanasi and Vrindavan. They've been very, very close to my heart, and I've been visiting them in almost not every visit, every trip to India, but I've been trying to visit them as often. And when I spoke to them, and they said that somehow I knew it that you're going to help us. I didn't know. And she said that I was like, oh my God, this is like, and the boatsman was a very, very, I always say my city of rebirth is Varanasi. And I lost everything and I went there and somehow something motivated me about that sunrise on the Ganges. Something motivated, something happened to me and I do not know why. And that Varanasi city gave me rebirth. And I kept thinking about the boatsman who actually took me around on that day. And I just tweeted, I had a picture of him and I just tweeted a picture of him and people found him. And we went to him and he said that, today morning, all the boatsmen went to the Ganges River and they prayed that Mother Ganges, I hope one of your child comes to our rescue. And, that was, I got very emotional when he said that, and we said, okay, so we are going to do food drive where all the boatsmen and people who work for tour guides and everyone, because a lot of people like me who are totally lost and broken at one time. We need to keep these people's hope alive that that what they do to people is actually we owe them for this.
Chef, another thing that I wanted to ask you was, you are from Amritsar, the city of the Golden Temple, where the langar and the community serving the service that they provide to the community is so beautiful and it's so touching. Was that at the back of your mind when you started the Feed India initiative, even subconsciously? Was it something that pushed you in this direction and all your other philanthropic initiatives?
As long as I'm breathing, that is on back of my mind, in front of my mind. To witness such greatness of humanity throughout your childhood and growing up, it engraves a certain moral compass in your mind forever. And of course, we are all business-based people, and if you're writing books, we want them to sell a lot. If you're opening restaurants, we want them to make money. If you're making movies and documentaries, we want everything to be doing well. But that place in Amritsar, and I tell people that they must visit. It's once in lifetime, everyone should visit because that is the basic foundation of Sikhism. And you'll be surprised that when you sit there in this union, you can all go and cook, you can clean, you can prep the food, and then you can serve the food. You can also eat the food and also clean afterwards. You will be surprised at how much you feel that you're a part of this human cycle, which is much beyond all the successes of numbers. The true identity of humanity, and that's always been back of my mind. I know when I talk about that, I choke, and that's where I'm going. The moment my lawyers and everyone around, my doctors say that I can travel, that's where I'm going first with my mother.
Chef, where do you go from here? So the lockdown is easing now, and the economy is also limping back to some semblance of normalcy. So
Yeah.
where do you take your initiative from here? Do you think is because there's so much um, there are so many people who need food all the time. There's so much poverty in the country. Do you see it also becoming a permanent movement in some way, which is sustained by not just you, but by the public at large? Um, in other words, what is your future plan for this initiative?
Aman, I did not plan this. We started this on April 1st. I didn't plan any of this. It just happened to be in my lap, and it came in my coat, and I do not know what happens next. But as people are saying that the economy is coming back to normal, things are going to move back to normal. I agree, but there's a gap. There's a gap. I'm seeing that suddenly you will not have people running out, and all the street vendors are being able to earn the livelihood again. We're still seeing cracks in this recovery, and we have. I do work with a lot of people who actually I consult with what is the next need. There are a lot of things which we are doing we cannot even write about because we are moving them at very fast speed. But Aman, there is a big crack in this entire recovery thing what we have, and it's great to believe that overnight everything will come back to normal. But there are a lot of places which are still remain vulnerable. But what is actually something to think about is that a lot of the places are based on donations, not are based on public contribution or corporate contributions. And right now, almost everyone is vulnerable. Everyone is a little drained out. So that entire cycle, not just of the harvest, the whole cycle of giving and receiving and reciprocity, everything is being affected right now. So we will continue in wherever we are doing a major food drive for street vendors, and we do in small pockets in small cities, and people who actually used to stand on the streets and give food. Right now, you see that in this whole thing, and this whole new era of consciousness about hygiene and everything. These people are very vulnerable right now.
Chef, I also wanted to ask you in the midst of the pandemic and the most successful initiative that you've launched, you've also started a restaurant in Dubai called Elora. So my question to you is, how on earth do you manage to juggle so many things?
Oh, I have a very calm mind by genetics. I don't get pressurized by failure or success. It's I don't know why. It's just like I feel I'm the same reaction. I'm like laughing. It's like okay, fine. And because I think maybe I've failed way too many times to understand that this is also a moving point. It's not fixed. And because of that, I get a lot of energy saved and conserved in me of beating myself or blaming people or celebrating too much of okay, fantastic, let's move on to the next. So I just feel that being disciplined is something which has truly helped me over the last 2 decades of running this my career totally self-made in America. And I feel that that has helped me to write projects which are meaningful, to make documentaries, to make movies, to open restaurants, to do big initiatives of Feed India, and also to be constantly learning and cooking and trying to create new dimensions of Indian food. I think one thing which people really spend a lot of time, and I know a lot of them, we spend much more time pulling others down, and I don't have that energy. I don't have. I just ignore it. I just ignore it. I see somebody writing bad, good. I just ignore it. I'm like, okay, fantastic. This is also great.
I'm just stepping in for a second here, Chef. Don't tell your fans that you're ignoring them because I know you read all the good messages and you send them your happiness.
I read many times. I sit and I scroll, but I definitely do that. But I don't get affected by success or failure. Sree has seen my ups, downs, up, downs, up, downs, and I have very conscious. Making Last Color is a movie. I made it just, and Sree was one of the first people who actually came to see it. And I'm like still embarrassed when that evening I was preparing dinner. I'm like, oh my God, what if they say that this is just this movie doesn't even make sense? Because I'm not a trained filmmaker to make a feature film. There must be certain qualifications people need to have to, no? I just feel that there must be certain qualifications people need to make a movie. And then I had Sharmeen Obaid. She's one of the Oscar winning. She's saying, no, movies are never made with degrees or anything. Movies are pure work of art. And I think doing those meaningful work is also important to me, using these platforms and telling stories, which are such amazing, inspiring stories. We have an amazing series of documentaries coming out once this slows down. It's about people who have unique talent of giving people hope. Amazing how would they bring revolution on a small scale they thought of, and how that revolution has affected so many people in generations. And you'll see that, we are doing it. Oh my God, that's our dinner.
This is the night that Vikas cooked for everybody. He said, can you get a couple of friends over? So I invited a couple of people. If you invite a couple of people and say, Chef Vikas Khanna is going to cook for them, obviously everybody wanted to come. So this was us in his apartment. You can see my socks there, and you can see the television. You can see we had made a very special little drink for everyone. So you can see it in the background. And then this was just part of the crowd. Look at that. Look at the crowd.
It was amazing that all these people were from different backgrounds, and everybody stayed still till the climax.
Yep, they stayed, and this was the movie that came out in 2019, The Last Color. And
we were eligible for Oscars 2020 for Best Feature Film, which was unbelievable.
Tell people, you remember what you cooked that day, Chef? You remember every meal, I know. So tell us what we're looking at.
So we were doing stuff from Varanasi because the movie was actually built. The entire story was built around Varanasi. So we did everything from that city. It was UP ka khana.
Nice. And so let's see what else. I don't know if there is any other. This is the dessert you made.
Yeah, it was. I was making fresh cakes actually. How can you? People are like, how can you be so eccentric that you're actually having guests? You're actually showing a movie, but you're also making and plating fresh cakes on the plate. I said, yeah, with like little.
And then I opened his fridge, and here's what I saw. I was so excited.
Open the fridge.
And look at this. Everyone sitting absolutely still. Every background. We deliberately invited people from different areas of walks of life, and they all stared nonstop and watched that. The synopsis of the film is that a 9-year-old fearless tightrope walker and flower seller Choti savors her dream to save $4 so she can attend school. The Last Color traces Choti and her best friend Chintu's daily struggles for survival on the streets of Banaras, an ancient city in India. And that was the backdrop. Tell us about this scene here.
Oh, this is one of the very powerful scenes where Neena Gupta, she's a widow, and she's accepted her life of abstinence. And the little girl asks her, why do you always wear white sari? Which I used to ask my aunts when I saw them, who lived a life of widowhood. And she said that, I don't know, maybe in our country there's a tradition that so that you remain colorless. And the little girl asks her, what's your favorite color? And she says pink. So next day, she buys a small nail polish of pink color and puts it on her nail toes. And that becomes the reason that the climax is so dark, that she gets caught with those nail toes painted in the ashram. And this is one of the most powerful scenes. And it touches the woman, Neena Gupta, so much that her name is Noor, that actually after this, there's a dance sequence on the terrace, which was so hard to shoot because I wanted the reflection of the sun in the river and the rising sun. You saw that dance sequence is crazy because she got touched with the color, and it was symbolism. Now she's blossoming because she was living a life of total, she's accepted the life, but there was always hope. This little color brings in her life.
And then this scene here.
This is the little girl who is a tightrope walker. After 25 years, she becomes one of the top lawyers in India, and she brings the reform in the lives of widows and street children and transgenders. And this was her mission. And now, after she gets the law passed that there will be no discrimination against the widows, she comes back to the city after 24 years. And she says, this was the city which gave me everything and also took everything away from me. And she's walking towards the ashram where the widows will play with the color for the first time in history.
Amazing. And here's your writer and director credit. But I love this photograph. You're also a terrific photographer, and you have done so much. I'm going to let Aman ask some more questions, but before we do that, I just want to make sure that we read some of the comments. Leah Chang, who's an amazing photographer herself, says, Chef Vikas Khanna has always been a consummate storyteller in all mediums. We have some other comments. Cinzia is watching from Italy. A big ciao and hello from Italy. So there you go. Vikas is not only a great chef, but has a great heart too. He's been so helpful to India's Children's Hope, India's slum and migrant communities during the breakdown. Thank you, Chef, for helping them. Good noon, sir. You arranged the world's largest Eid, which was amazing and very successful. Tell us about that. Most people wouldn't even know about that program.
Yeah. So, at Haji Ali, which is, it's up, like, when we look at Mumbai, Haji Ali is one of the first things which come to our mind. But, in 1992, during the riots in Mumbai, I was rescued by a Muslim woman, Muslim family, but the lady was the one who said that the riots outside, and I stayed in the house for 2 days. And then I lost contact. I just remember that it was near, they had a narrow street where the guy took me. It was evening time. I used to work for the Sea Rock Sheraton Hotel. I was in the room service kitchen. I was training there. And I never forgot that day. And those 2 days, but it had such blurred memories in my mind because of the shock. I just remember things in small images, that she's telling her husband, no, he will not leave till this whole fire settles down. I remember her telling that. And they also had 2 daughters at home. And I slept on the floor and she was feeding me. And I told her my dream that I want to be India's biggest chef. I'm sorry, but maybe that whole thing when you're so ignorant and I told her, when you're 20 years or 19 years old, you don't care. You have all these dreams. You tell people, oh, I'm going to become India's biggest chef in the world. And she remembered those things, and we found the family. And this was dedicated to her. That I said, I'm gonna have so much of food that there's going to be food lined up till her doorstep. This is what my heart said to me. I said, on this Eid is very special, because we did from Haji Ali and we had food for more than 200,000 meals. It was massive Eid event, and I think one of the biggest accomplishments of my life to put this together.
That's fabulous, Chef. Chef, like 1992, the pandemic has had such a profound effect on all of us. In just 6 months, many of the certitudes that we held so dear have crumbled away. So I really wanted to ask you, specifically, what changes has it brought in your life, and has it changed the way you approached a few things in your professional and personal life?
Everything. I think it has affected a lot of things, how I thought about it. And you're going to see the effect of this in my upcoming projects also. This whole thing of isolation has affected a lot of our minds, and our generation or the younger generations are going to be. We do not know how to live. Of course, social media is something which people feel they are connected to, but this is the first time we are seeing the effects of isolation like this. That how everyone was locked down, and the inability to understand what was going on, and how vulnerable we are as humans. And we are what we are without science. Just all those questions are right in front of us. And I think that, and we always would think, when we read about Spanish flu and, all those pandemics in the past, we always thought that we've overcome them. We're so advanced right now. We've landed on the moon. We have every vaccine. And I remember looking at one of the interviews by President Barack Obama's speeches when he said that, this can always come back because, this happened from a small source and spread. I think it is going to affect it's affected my cooking. I just feel that I made my cooking simpler. I was always doing cooking in so many layers. But yes, in the storytelling part and the art part, I'm seeing a lot of people struggling with this isolation and financial like, meltdowns. I'm seeing a lot of my friends, and including myself, we are suffering tremendously, all of us on this planet.
Chip, another thing that's happened besides, of course, these revelations is the fact that the pandemic has highlighted the inequities in society, and nowhere does it reflect more than in food. And your initiative is it emphasizes that greatly. So, given the fact that you are on this pedestal and you have so many followers who cling to every word of yours, what message would you like to give them? You are doing your bit, of course. You are feeding 26 million people, you have so far, and you will continue to. What is it that they should do in their lives to alleviate these inequities?
We just need to hear our own moral compass. Nobody should be out there giving us lectures what to do. We are all very common people, and we are almost the same substance we're made of. I just feel that people should just hear the moral compass. In some days, you know that what you're feeling is right, and you can be helpful. I remember there was, and people have contributed to us like through a different level. Even for them, so many times they would tweet, "How can we help you, chef? You must be so distressed and all." I said, "You did your job by just asking me, and I know that your moral compass is all absolutely calibrated." And I remember there was an image of a little girl who would come on a highway to take food because we had food trucks, and she's come there, and the NDRF, National Disaster Response Force officer, sent me the image, and it broke my heart because she was like 9 or 10 years old, and she was not wearing slippers, and something happened to me. I just couldn't sleep that night. So I said, let's do something on a foot drive. Like, we need to have these slippers and everything. And you'll be surprised, within 24 hours, we had a contribution of more than 100,000 slippers from foundations, organizations, individuals coming forward to support. So just one tweet, I was saying, one tweet that, I know this picture is glorious, that we could get food to people in time as they were walking back home. And in the lines of people, it was a huge line of people, or I think more than like that day, that line was almost 2,000 people. But I focused on this little girl without slippers, and I could feel the heat and blisters in her feet in just one tweet. And everybody contributed because everybody was spreading that word on that tweet. And people were tagging different companies. So people were contributing in so many ways. And I had people who actually tagged this person who came on board, who instantly said that, I have this company. I don't know the sizes, but whatever I have in my go downs, I can always rebuild this. But right now, these people, because it was getting so hot in India, right now I know that you will make sure that it goes on the right foot. Exactly. So every time we had the trucks, we also had the slippers in them, we had water, we had herbal drinks. So everything people were contributing. So even if they were not contributing in the products, they were actually contributing us to reach those products. So many people would tag the right company, and the company will right away respond to me saying, let us know what we can do. So people, it's just calibrating the moral compass at that time. You can all be easy to be negative and easy to be harsh. I've read such harsh things about myself over the, as a profession, because you're so much on the stage, and you looked at it and you wanted to say, this is actually not at all true what you're writing. But of course, you will gain few Facebook likes. I understand that part, and you just move forward. But you said fantastic. But that should not stop you. And that is also very important. All these people were doing was actually during that negativity also, they kept pushing me forward. Of yes, we are tagging this right person. And people were supporting at that time. And this can't be an individual effort to be distributing 3 million sanitary pads. It's not possible. For individuals can't do that. Because somebody tagged right person and they tagged another person, and that company owner said, I have all these things, and this Payal Tulisian from 9 sanitary pads, it's not as big as big corporational companies, but she was heart and soul. 200,000, okay, we'll get in West Bengal. 100,000 we'll get in UP. Let's do something in Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka. So it was going on and on.
Amazing, Chef. Finally, Chef, before I hand the baton back to Sree, I'd like to ask you one question, which is what gives you more gratification? Seeing a diner return happy from your restaurant, or seeing someone who was needy get a day's ration from your initiative?
Second one. I'm not saying it because that meant something to me emotionally, but the first one many people can do. You can have dining experience. India has produced some of the greatest chefs in this world, but to be able to use that position to do the second one is where the power is. I realized that in the last 4.5 months, that it is not about your position, it is how you actually use that platform to be able to get that meal to that person. Because diners will be spending money and coming to you. If they're not coming to you, they'll go to someone else. But the other person doesn't have so much of choice. And you used all your position, power, influence, and you figured out how to get the meal to the person who is in need at that point.
With that, we want to say thank you to Aman Khanna. Tell us about what we can find, Aman, on the Scroll Food website. What's the easiest way to find it? What can we find on it?
Chef, thanks again for the great opportunity to talk to you, and thanks, Sree, for having me on the show. On Scroll Food, we are trying to build an encyclopedia of Indian food from the north to the south to the west to the east. It's an initiative to essentially bring together all the regional cuisines, all the micro cuisines. That's what we attempted to do when we started in December of last year. But we also realized once the pandemic hit and battered the economy and the F&B industry in particular, that we need to pivot and also put the spotlight on the hardships that everyone in the industry is going through. So since the last few months, last 3 months or so, we have been tying up with chefs around the country, and we've been having them talk about the shifting sands of taste. We've been talking about the problems that the F&B industry has been facing, how they can recover, how they can come back. And we've also been talking about the culinary journeys of these chefs themselves. These are also premier chefs of the country, so they can talk to us about what food trends we are seeing before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and afterwards.
Thank you, Aman. Great to have you here with us, and thank you for your.
Likewise, Sree.
And tell us a little bit. So this will also, all the stuff that you do is now also Scroll Global is being built as well, right?
Yeah, thanks, Sree, for bringing that up. That's another section that we have just launched, and that section is essentially going to tell the stories of the diaspora to the diaspora. We aim to talk about all the stories that are at the intersection of India and Indians and the world in one place. We found that it was an opportunity that we should make use of right now. In fact, and Kamala Harris's nomination or candidacy as the vice president, VP pick by Joe Biden, I think has been a godsend. It also reinforces that that our idea wasn't off the mark. It's the time for such a publication has come.
Excellent. Everyone can find it at scroll.in/global. Scroll.in/global. Our visiting guest host has been Aman Khanna. Please follow him. He's the food editor. Scroll.in. And you have to once more explain your very unusual Twitter handle.
Yeah, my Twitter handle is AK-Metoikos, and Metoikos is an old Greek term for resident alien. That was my feeble and I think unsuccessful attempt at being pretentious. No one got the word, and I think I fell on my face.
But people can find you, and it's yours, and that's the most important thing. Thank you very much. We love the art.
Thanks so much, Sree.
Thank you. I see Hanumanji, I see a Ganeshji there as well. You've got lots of art. So maybe one day when we interview you, you'll walk your laptop around the house so we can see your art.
I'd be happy to do that, Sree.
Thanks very much, everyone. That was Aman Khanna. We have Vikas Khanna in the background. He's just catching up on his emails. You know, for him to be on an hour without being online and without doing the work that he has to do is very difficult, especially now. And it's 11 p.m. in India, and he's still talking to people there, communicating with them, sharing their stories. So if you've just joined us, we have a few more minutes with Vikas. I told him 1 hour, but I'm going to take a little bit more time with him. And partly to embarrass myself, I'm going to show you a couple of an excerpt from a video that I did with him back in 2008. Before that, Rajita Bansal's comment. Let's just read that comment. Remarkable example of how a talented and committed human being can extend their abilities to do so much good in society. We use Chef Vikas Khanna's culinary book for the kids with our 10-year-old. Now we hope to take more pages from his life and emulate his journey as a good soul. Wow, that is just absolutely beautiful. I wanted Vikas to see that. Make sure he has seen that comment. Yeah, this is not much left to say when you've said all that. So Vikas, I'm now going to play a video that we did together. Might have been, I'm saying 2008, but it has to be earlier than that. Probably 2005, in the early days of YouTube and everything. But this was the show. So let's play this. And let me turn up the volume. Here we go.
Hello and welcome back to Pulse. I'm Sree Sreenivasan and I'm talking to Vikas Khanna, chef, teacher of cooking. Tell us about, you started as you were saying, you started your life again in America. And I'm fascinated by that because immigrants do a lot of that, where they come here and they had real careers, successful careers.
Look at my hair.
What does it take to make it through? I mean, we might have people watching us who had very successful careers in India or Pakistan or somewhere else and now are watching and say, well, I can be inspired by Vikas's story.
I've always thought that there were two ways of doing anything, the short-term and the long-term gratifications. Mm-hmm. So when I understood the American system, I thought, first I have to be legal and I have to get my green card and everything working properly. So I got sponsored from the restaurant where I was working. They were very kind enough to sponsor me for my green card.
But when you're standing there as a dishwasher and handing out flyers in the cold and you have no friends or you're just new to this country, did you flash back to the days when you were at the Leela Kempinski or the Taj hotels and you're...
Just to point that out, you were handing out flyers on the streets of New York. You were a dishwasher. Yeah, I don't think people know that part of your story.
Yeah, I should take a lot. I should be house help to a lot of people. I used to take care of a lot of elderly people because people would trust me and say, can you just help me clean and all the. I did a lot of jobs like that. I also did like parking jobs where I don't know how to drive, but I was still park cars.
Oh my God! No, it shows you also the importance of any task you have, doing it with dignity, doing work and taking it seriously. And obviously you did that. But I just want to finish. I want to hear what the young Vikas Khanna told me 15 years ago. Let's see what he was saying at that moment. So let's play that.
You're Sheraton. I mean, you were king of of what you were doing, and now here you are. Did you feel like giving up and going home? Do you ever come close to that?
Sometimes.
And how did you get through it?
I got through it because New York has such a positive energy. Mm-hmm. You see the energy in the people and you see everyone is trying to do something. Everyone is trying to get hold of something. Everyone is trying. Some people who have a mission, they feel that,
Wow.
Let's tell people what they can, what you are doing. You're teaching cooking, right? And you do a lot of work with philanthropies, with charity work. Tell us about that. Right after the tsunamis, you raised, you had one event where you raised $50,000.
$50,000. I went to these people and I got the space for free. It's a major event. It's called Tribeca Rooftop. Mm-hmm. They were really nice. They gave me the whole space for free. And then
so I want to tell everybody that this is not new for Vikas. Like, he didn't wake up and say, oh, I must help people today. He's been doing it for 15, 20 years. And he had so much difficulty when he came to this country, but he was able to build off of that. So watching that now, Vikas, makes me even more proud of you that you've been doing
it. Can you believe it, to be able to do all this on your own? This is amazing.
major
And
chefs.
I got the place for free. Then I went to top chefs from Alan Ducasse. I had no shame of asking people help for my country that time. I got John George, I got Alan Ducasse, I got Daniel Bullock, I got Eric Repair. They were all cooking for that event. Imagine you are no one. It's like, I said, and we got Save the Children, we got Habitat for Humanity. So they would just write checks. People were writing checks to people. They were like, oh my God, what is going on? And we put the counters, and all the chefs were coming and cooking. I still saw the video like a few years ago from somebody had posted. Amazing, amazing power of imagination.
Yeah, that's certainly something that people are not used to seeing. Let's see a little bit more, because I love the old Vikas. Also, we should tell everybody the outfit you're wearing. I asked you, the first thing I did was
My mom got this from me from India. She was visiting me at that time.
yes, she was in the audience. This was a empty studio. It was you and me in Midtown, and your mom was sitting there. And I said I had to ask you about the outfit. There I was in a suit, and I expected you to come wearing a chef jacket, but you wore a full-on sherwani. And your mom said something very important. She said that chefing, chef's work is what you do, but an Indian is who you are. So she wanted you to be who you are.
And I remember I just opened a cooking school in Chelsea. Oh my God, how
All right, let's play this a little more. One sec. Let's play this a little more. Let's see what you say next.
All the major chefs, any great restaurants. So I put the 20 top restaurants of New York City together. We did it night.
And you raised money that you were
raised money, $50,000.
That's terrific.
Like
epic.
That's great.
Epic. This is epic.
I do a lot of things which is called Vision of Palate, in which I teach a lot of children the power of palate.
Mm-hmm.
I teach them, that a palate is something which is so powerful in the sense of flavors. And I'm doing Indian food, which is generally more aromatic. It's more powerful in flavors. So I make them understand that the differentiations of different spices and the oils and the flavors and the smells. I just got tied up with. And it's just basically to encourage people that, everyone can enjoy food, which is such a major gift of the God.
Sure. And you also do catering work, you said?
I do a lot of catering work.
Because somebody, I'm getting hungry just listening to all this. But and we should, by the way, tell me your favorite recipe. What is your signature dish?
My signature dish, I should not be saying chicken tikka masala because that will be so obvious.
Right.
I love dishes from different regions of the country.
Uh-huh. So they can learn all about this on the website. And we wish you the very best. You've been watching my conversation with Vikas Khanna, who's chef and teacher of cooking. You can go to vikaskhanna.nyc.com to learn more about him. And of course, you can also go to our website at americandesi.tv. Please. All right, that is me looking very, very young because I was young. It was 15 years ago. We're having some tech difficulties with today's Vikas Khanna. We already had him for an hour. So if he's able to join us again, we'll give it a minute so that he can come back.
Otherwise, we'll just wrap up the show to thank Vikas for being with us. And as I said, he is so genuine. You heard everything he's doing now, he was doing then, smaller scale, but he was raising money for tsunami victims in India. He was writing books. He was teaching people about food. He was talking about connecting India and the United States. All of that you heard, and he's the same man you see today. I met him when he was very young, 15 years ago, but now you see what he has become, a true philanthropist who helps millions of people, 25 million plus. I said 25 million on the card, but he's done more than just the 25 million meals. He's done more than 30, I think, 35, he said. And he's helped distribute sanitary pads, which are hard to come by for many people in India. So he's sent those out. He's done so much good work, and we are enormously proud of the work that he has done. Let's show you how the New York Times covered this. Let's go in there and show you the article that they wrote. That says the chef has a Michelin star and a mission, feeding millions in India's lockdown. An article by Shalini Venugopal Bhagat was published in May. And this is how it starts. He has cooked for the Obamas, hosted TV shows with Gordon Ramsay, written 25 culinary books, and created sumptuous meals that cost $40,000 each. But in the past 2 months, Vikas Khanna, a Michelin-starred chef, has turned his focus to India's hungry, providing millions of meals to poor Indians who have suffered greatly under the coronavirus lockdown. And that was written on May 27th. Today is August 15th. So you can just imagine all the effort and the impression that he has made all over the world. We're going to wait for a couple of minutes to see if he's able to come back in. Otherwise, no problem. Thank you all for watching. We're going to read your comments because we have time. Our producer, Vandana Menon, is backstage, and she's going to flash some of the comments, and I'm going to read them to you. Let's see what she's got. The most successful people are not the strongest or the mightiest, but those who are flexible and adaptable to challenging situations. You are the standing example. And he's talking to Vikas Khanna, the Vikas Khanna on Twitter. Sashi Nair says, you are doing some wonderful work, Chef Vikas. Keep it going. You've shown that ordinary people can also sometimes lead extraordinary lives, inspire, and show others the way. Beautifully said, Shashi. And Facebook user says, having reported on his work from when he touched the 4 million meals milestone till now has been very inspirational. Awesome to have that. Sangeeta says, hello, Chef. It was really best experience when I met you in Pune in the month of January. It was my dream come true to gift you the small scrapbook of the flavors of Pune. And let's see some more comments. Bashwati says, his notable comment, I did not learn hunger in India. New York taught me what going to sleep hungry is. Just think about that. Somebody who comes from such modest, he grew up in a middle-class home in India, but he came here to be to be less than middle class. And he didn't come here to do that, but he became less than middle class when he was here, went to bed hungry on occasion, even though he was a chef. You heard he was a dishwasher. He handed out flyers. He parked cars and all kinds of things that he did, and became someone who has helped so many people around the world. Let's see some more comments. Your story is so inspiring and motivating, Chef, at every phase of your life, your childhood, cooking at the Langars, and now. Your storybooks for children as well as your cookbooks. Thank you. Awesome. Sonali says, sir, you've been such a visionary, a man who has gone beyond himself, a person who has a lot of strength and grit and perseverance. You have, in true words, extended humanity to every single being, a true inspiration. Thank you and bless you. Wow. These are great comments. Rajan says, I have to admit that I've only eaten chicken tikka masala made by myself with a commercial sauce from Aldi. That's a chain store. I'm going to try it made at an Indian restaurant. Rajan, we have to plan an epic meal when all of this is over. All our regulars on this show, and we'll talk to Chef Vikas Khanna about eating with him as well. Krishna says, my 93-year-old grandma has been watching the live stream with me right now, is extremely proud of you, and sends you her love, blessings, and best wishes. And we'll pass all of these comments on to Chef Vikas Khanna after this. Fantastic session, says Rituja. Vikas Khanna, so proud of him. I just want to tell you that we do this show every single day, and we have fantastic guests every single day. So we would love for you all to come back and join us for our future episodes, including on Sundays. We do a lot of different things on Sundays, including our guest tomorrow is a very special guest. We do Sunday night positivity. It's Monday morning in India. Bob Kendrick will be here, president of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, celebrating the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Negro Leagues. And he will talk to us about the 100th anniversary and what it all means. And we try to be extra positive on Sunday night. And then on Sunday morning, we have another episode, my weekly reading of the New York Times out loud. Veronica Chambers is our guest, the editor of narrative projects at the New York Times and co-author of Finish the Fight, about the women's suffrage movement, and a 44-page special edition that is in the New York Times tomorrow, print edition of the New York Times. So join me at 8:30 a.m. on all of these channels, and again at 9 p.m. on Sunday. We do a lot on Sunday. Tomorrow is also the day when we shoot Cheese on Call. You can find it on Facebook and on Twitter. We have two amazing guests who will be with our amazing surgeons, Dr. Sujana Chandrasekhar and Dr. Marina Kurian. Dr. Ananta Dey will join us from London. She's the president of the British Indian Psychiatrists Association. And Dr. Anupama Gotimukla is with us. She's in peds and anesthesia, pediatric anesthesiologist. And she is the president-elect of the Association of American Physicians of Indian Origin. It's the second largest medical association in America. So the sequence is 8:30 a.m. this show, where we read the New York Times out loud. 11 a.m. is this show where we host and talk with doctors about medical issues. And then at 9 p.m. is Bob Kendrick. It's going to be an amazing day, Sunday. No vacation here for any of us, including my amazing producers, Vandana Menon and Rose Horowitz. They are tweeting away. Please follow them, Rose Horowitz 31 at Vandana_Menon. And please connect with me. I'm at Sree on Twitter, SREE, and I am at my YouTube collection of all our videos are available in one place at youtube.com/Sreenet, youtube.com/Sreenet. Let's read a couple more comments, and then I'm going to end by playing a little bit more of the video that I recorded with the chef 15 years ago. Rose Horowitz said, I need a big education. My children need a lesson from Vikas on expanding their palates. And a lot of people need that in America, including Indian Americans. Sometimes don't get their kids be as adventurous as they could be. And let's see some more comments. Bashwati says, hello from my Ayurvedic hospital in Udupi, a New Yorker who moved back to India. Happy to watch what you're doing till I get back to my home in Chelsea. So when I said go back, I believe Bhaswati was born here. So she's an American who has gone to India. Sonali says, thank you, Sree, for an amazing show. God bless. Thank you, Sonali. And please watch us again. Divya says, thank you for doing the live session. We'll bring the chef back around our 250th anniversary, I'm sure, 250th not anniversary episode. Omvesh says, so great to see you and Vikas talking together. Omvesh Upadhyay is someone I have just met on doing these shows, and he's fantastic. And Sham Sethi says, God bless Vikas and all the persons helping the poor. That is just awesome. I'm trying to also see my messages from Vikas has messaged me, so I want to make sure I catch what he has sent to us while all of this is going on. And he says, so that one of you said that, God bless Vikas and all the persons helping the poor. I think that's a great note on which to just go over and watch one more clip from the show that I hosted with Vikas all the way back when not just I had hair, but Vikas was just starting out in New York and has been such an inspiration to so many people because of his work. So let's just show you. This is part 2 of the interview.
Welcome back to Pulse. I'm Sree Sreenivasan, and I'm talking to Chef Vikas Khanna. Vikas, you're telling us about your story. Here you were, young boy from Amritsar, became a chef, graduated from one of the best schools, and then you went back to Amritsar to pick up your catering business, which your mom was running, right? And then, yes. So let's finish up the story.
Well, my mom was doing great according to what standards she had in mind, and but when I went there, I said that we have to do this professionally.
So what does that mean? So you invest
Professionally
money.
means that we need to have a proper system of parties. We need to have proper catering outlets. We need to do this. Kitchen has to be the most professional kitchen people have seen. You know, it has to speak about my caliber, my education, my exposure, and my training. So I started redoing my kitchen, and they thought, this was crazy. Why do you need to put all this good quality stainless steel equipment and everything? But after some time, we realized that it had a great output.
And so
I used to get calls from Delhi and everywhere. Like some ministers are coming. During that, they were trying to negotiate with India and Pakistan. So we used to a lot of ministers coming to Amritsar and all. So all they wanted was catering. They wanted good food, and
so they were coming to you instead of going to the local 5-star hotel.
5-star hotels. And we have 4-star hotel, which is a major one there. So even we used to get the contracts. And it was funny was that all these big hotels and all the established restaurants, whenever they had an event and they wanted to have the best food, they'll always come to us.
Okay. So they secretly were coming to you. Huh?
They were secretly coming to me and all the time. But, it was great because,
But you also need, that's what I want to get into, that it isn't more than just the cooking, right? It's also the presentation. It's also the wait staff. All all of that has to work together if you're trying to do a business. Because I meet, women and men who think they're good cooks and they think, well, then I can run a catering business. But there's more to it than that, right?
There's much more to it. It's like, and the most important thing about catering business, it's so much manpower intensive and such long hours. You cannot even blink if you have a big catering going on. They'll be dancing till 4 o'clock. You have to be standing till 4 o'clock. You want to make sure that all the staff is consistently serving them. Everything is presented in the way you began doing it at the beginning of the party, because people are rating you at some point.
So you're saying that it's easy to do the 6 o'clock cocktails, right? But the 3 a.m. is where
it's easier because, the first shift would begin at 9 o'clock and I have to be back in my banquets at 9 o'clock. And I was so obsessive about quality that, in the morning, I would go to buy my vegetables and meats, everything fresh. It was great fun because, Amritsar it's a very agricultural place. Sure. And, my quality of vegetables and everything. And I used to tell my mom, just relax. Let me get the vegetables in the morning. And she said, you need some rest. I said, that's a therapy for me when I'm selecting vegetables. Okay. And all the people, they still call me. All the people who used to, we call it Sabzi Mandi. Excuse me. And those people were like so generous. Like they'll know that any new vegetable in the market, I'm the only person who's going to buy it. Okay. Because I'll be creating something new out of it.
So how did you leave Amritsar? Why did you leave Amritsar? Sounded like you had everything.
A lot of credit goes to my sister for that. My sister came with my mom to US. And then that is when she started insisting, your place is New York. You cannot do anything.
Was she living here at the time? Or?
She was not.
So she just
visited New York with my mother. And my mother, and I thought, my mom would not be able to survive, we were very close. And I said, but she was the happiest person when I decided, Mom, let me do that.
Okay.
And, we had some issues with the space and everything. The changing night of my life was we had a fight in the banquets between two different parties.
Not over your food?
Not over the food. They had some issues.
Too much alcohol. Right?
Too much alcohol. Okay. We know that there are no liquor laws or something. And it was like, that really upset me. I said, I can spend my whole life here without any recognition, even if I have to perform on the world stage. But that got into my subconscious mind.
Okay.
So when my sister started insisting about New York, but I always thought on the back of my mind that I have to study from the CIA. That's the Culinary Institute of America.
Not the other CIA.
Not the other CIA. Okay. No link there. And I started checking on the possibilities of studying and everything. But I even went to the American embassy. I told them everything truthfully. That, I'm never going to come back if. But once I landed in Manhattan, I thought this is home. This is like.
Okay.
And the restaurants.
So you told the American embassy you're not going to come back?
I'm not going to come back.
And they still gave you a visa?
He said, go and live your life.
Really?
And that guy could speak Hindi. It was so surprising. And he kept staring at me.
An immigration or diplomatic officer.
Yeah, but I went through a long interview. And the mother was with me. And my mom said, you will be surprised the way he can cook. And he kept looking. He said, you know what? I want America to taste your food.
And
he gave me 10 years visa for my first American trip, for my first trip in abroad.
Oh my God. And you were obviously single and, there was no reason.
There was no
ties
reason. And he could tell I'm never going to come back.
And you told them that. Normally, people go and say,
1 week.
Yeah, or they say, I have property, I have family, I'll come back.
He did not.
There's just a couple of more minutes I'll play of that video, but just think about the audacity to say to the immigration officer that you're not coming back. That doesn't happen, folks. People, even if they don't intend to come back, and most often they don't even know what they're going to do. But he said, I'm not coming back. And because his mother was there and she told the officer, like, this is all stuff that doesn't happen to everyday people, doesn't happen every day for sure. And this is what has helped Vikas. For those of you who missed the story, he then comes to New York. He works as a car parking attendant, as a dishwasher, he as a home aid worker. And he does all of that and always keeps his eyes on the prize of becoming a chef. And he had a middle-class home in India and came here, and he went to bed night sometimes hungry, and that's what has driven him, as you heard. As soon as this is over, you can rewind and you can watch the entire show and watch him. He spent an hour with us, and then he had to leave, but we're so grateful to him. So let's just watch the rest of this interview. It's only another couple of minutes. He is the same man you see today that was the boy that I interviewed 15 years ago, but he is just amazing.
Look at my file of what I've done. He didn't look at my resume.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back.
And you told them that. Normally, people go and say,
1 week.
Yeah, or they say, I have property, I have family, I'll come back.
He did not look at my file of what I've done. He didn't look at my resumes and everything.
So just talk to you about cooking.
He was a foodie.
Okay.
I get along very well with foodies.
Okay.
He said, America needs to taste your food.
Amazing. And so you come to New York, and when did you arrive in New York?
I arrived in New York in December 10th.
Of what year?
Of 2000.
Okay, you've only been here 5 years, and you've done a lot.
Almost four years, 3 months.
Yeah.
And I came here and I went to CIA straight away because I thought that's a temple of culinary arts.
Mm-hmm.
It's so expensive. Then I came back to New York. I started working on the Upper West Side as a dishwasher. I used to give flyers on Central Park. I did all the odd jobs. Then, I have to survive first.
But how did it feel to go from being a kind of a big fish in a small pond, and then you come here and you're a dishwasher, you're handing out flyers? Must have been very difficult, right? And for your mom, was your mom here also?
No.
So, but you didn't tell her what was going on?
By myself.
Oh.
They thought, I'm going to get admission in a big college.
Right.
You know how when you leave India and anyone comes to US, they think, the person is a multimillionaire and everything.
Right.
But we really have to work very hard.
Sure. So you're sort of doing all these odd jobs, and then what happened?
Yeah, I was doing all these odd jobs, and I got my admissions through NYU.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very hard for me to pay the fees and everything. I didn't want to ask my parents for anything, but I had saved substantial amount that I can study now.
Right.
But I started studying there. Then I went to Salam Bombay for a job,
Which is a restaurant here in New York.
which is one of the top Indian restaurants in New York.
Sure.
And they were so considerate about what I want to pursue in my life, and they gave me a job working part-time, sometimes full-time.
As a chef?
As a front and the back.
Okay.
But I would take care of everything because running my own business, I knew that, you have to fill in all the blanks.
All right, well, let's take a break here, and we're going to continue my conversation with Vikas Khanna, and he's also going to give us some tips on how you can appreciate food better. And also, if you're interested in being a chef, he'll give you his thoughts on that. Please stay tuned.
That was a lifetime ago, folks. 15 years ago, 2005, my interview with Vikas Khanna, who is just getting started on his US career, and look at the heights he's reached since then. He's an amazing presence. You saw in his conversation with me, this is the second time he's been with us, and you've seen what an impact he's had on the world. And he says everything starts with his mother, his grandmother, and that's really special. Let's look at a couple of the other comments that have been coming in. Paulo says hello from Vegas. Jagjot Singh says that's a very old recording. Yes, it's true. It's 15 years old. Divya sends her love. And Daryl says, in my interview, I told the U.S. immigration officer I didn't want to go. Life was best in Trinidad, but I had to walk my sister down the aisle on her wedding day. Of course, when I arrived in New York City, it put its arm around me and wouldn't let go. So he was living in Trinidad. I've not heard this story, Daryl. I thought you were born here. So he said that he had to come here so that he could walk his sister down the aisle. And Daryl has become a true New Yorker and watching from Richmond Hill. So thank you all very much for being here. Thank you for supporting the show. We're on every single day. A reminder of the great run of shows we have tomorrow. You can see our show tomorrow is with Veronica Chambers, who is the author of a new book called Finish the Fight about the women's suffrage movement. And she's the director of narrative projects at the New York Times. We'll read the New York Times with her, the print edition of the New York Times. And there's a 44-page special edition insert special section that is going in the paper tomorrow. So that's at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And then at 11 a.m. Eastern is She's on Call. Dr. Sujana Chandrasekhar and Dr. Marina Kurian, Dr. Ananta Dave, child psychiatrist from London, and Dr. Anupama Gotimukala will be with us. She's a pediatrician who specializes in anesthesiology and the president-elect of AAPI, the Association of American Physicians from India, the second largest medical association in America. So that gets you till noon. And then at 9 p.m. Eastern, we have for you Positivity with Bob Kendrick, the next edition of this show. Bob is the president of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, celebrating the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Negro Leagues. On Sunday nights, we try to keep things generally positive, despite every rotten thing going on. We interview purposeful people who can get us ready for the week. Guest ideas are always welcome for that show and all our shows. And someone watching in India might be surprised or elsewhere about the name Negro League Baseball. And that's because they kept that name as a tribute to what the league was called 100 years ago when it was started. It was called the Negro Leagues. And we're all learning so much, of course, on this show and all around us in these days of the pandemic. We want to do one thing that we do on this show before we close, and that is we say their names. This is from my conversation with Professor Kimberly Crenshaw, who coined the term intersectionality, and 30 years ago she made that word up, and it is so appropriate for the times we live in now. And I asked her, what can we do to be supportive of the Black community? And she said, say their name. So we're going to do that right now. This is a cover from Time magazine. You see on the left side a photograph, a painting by Titus Kaffir of a mother with a child taken away. You see the blue glove for the pandemic. And on the right, you see a young Larcinia Floyd with her son, George Floyd. She would die 2 years to the day almost that he would be killed in Minneapolis. They're both now buried in Houston. So now I'm going to say the names that were on that cover of Time magazine. Please tell us where you're watching from, and please join me as I read these names. And we do this every chance we can get. The names are, as I read them, please think of, you've heard of some of them, but you've not heard of most of them. And that's what we need to remember, that everybody has a story. Trayvon Martin, Yvette Smith, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Laquan McDonald, Tanisha Anderson, Akai Gurley, Tamir Rice, Jeraim Reed, Natasha McKenna, Eric Harris, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray, William Chapman, Sandra Bland, Darius Stewart, Samuel DuBose, Janet Wilson, Kaylin Rockmore, Alton Sterling, Philando Castillo, Joseph Mann, Terrence Crutcher, Chad Robertson, Jordan Edwards, Aaron Bailey, Stefan Clark, Danny Ray Thomas, Antoine Rose, Botham Jean, Tatiana Jefferson, Michael Dean, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. And those are not all the names. Those are just the names that could fit on the cover of Time magazine. And that's the tragedy of the situation and why we say their names. Professor Crenshaw also champions say her name. And so when we mix it up, and sometimes we read the names on the say her name report. Just too many names. Even one name is too many. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your support of this show. We want to thank our sponsors who make it possible for us to be here every single day for you. Muckrack Academy, Fundamentals of Social Media, a free certification course that you can take right now, mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. I'm also doing a special workshop on August 19th. That's this Wednesday. Nonprofits and social media, how to cope when the world is on fire. Beatrice Fry will be with us. She's the head of digital communication at UN Peacekeeping. Tik Milan will be with us, former media strategist at GLAD, and Dante Lacona, senior social media officer at the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent. And he was also social media manager for the World Health Organization. We also want to thank our friends at Nunbelievable. Divinely delicious cookies on a mission, 20% off with the code SREE, S-R-E-E. Each handcrafted cookie provides a meal to those in need. One meal is one cookie, is one meal that you will be contributing. Check out nunbelievable.com, 20% off with the code SREE. And promotional consideration is also provided by
Hotstar Premier Nights. Watch the year's biggest blockbusters streaming straight to your screen, exclusively on Hotstar.
A newly married couple's life is jeopardized in the new thriller Khuda Hafiz, streaming straight to your screen as of last night. Hotstar.com/US. Use code SREE2020 to get less than $4 a month for a subscription. Hotstar.com/US.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sujana Chandrasekhar. I'm an ear, nose, and throat surgeon in New York City and New Jersey.
And I'm Dr. Marina Kurian. I'm a general surgeon in New York City area.
We'd like to introduce you to our new show, She's on Call. We air live on social media platforms from 11 a.m. to noon every Sunday Eastern Time. We discuss the medical topics of the week.
We have two great guests, experts in their field, that help us analyze and look at some of the topical issues of healthcare. And we are on 11 to 12, so please join us.
We'd love to answer your questions, so please share and watch and send us your questions and comments.
See you Sundays at 11.
And that is our show for today, folks. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting us. Please send us your suggestions for speakers, for folks who could benefit from being on the show. What can we put attention on? We've had an incredible week where we did 2 shows to commemorate. On one day, we did 2 shows that centered around the Kamala Harris nomination or the pick as VP. We talked about the spelling bee. We did so many things this week, and it's just 1 week, episode 158, 158 days in a row we've been on the air. Check out our email address. Please email me if you have suggestions on how we can work together. We'd love to explore it and want to show you this is not this is a way for you to hold up your phone and get a WhatsApp alert when I'm live. This is not, I promise you, a WhatsApp group, but just a gentle alert when I'm live, or just email me and I can add you to our WhatsApp group so you'll know when we have a show on the air. Otherwise, please go to youtube.com/SreeNet and subscribe, or go to Twitter @Sree and subscribe. You'll always have my newest video will always be pinned to the top of the channel right there. So we'd love for you to join us and participate in any way we can. Well, we'd love to explore ways, and this is our show. More than 1 million viewers, 281 guests, 158 of them women, 57 countries, 57 cities, 16 countries. Even the chief scientists of the WHO have all been on this show. We're grateful to our producers, Vandana Menon, Vandana_Menon, and Rose Horowitz @Rose Horowitz 31. Thanks very much, everybody. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.